imagination. I have loved our theme for the month, Invisible Acts of Power. This morning we're going to look at your invisible act of power. That we are all supernatural, each and every one of us, and that we came in the world to fulfill a destiny. And when we become clear, and I believe the moment of enlightenment, in fact, we do a circle every morning, and every Sunday morning we set the tone. And someone in our circle this morning, I believe it's Reverend Prince Fleet, said that this morning I asked, what is it that you would like to experience this morning? And he said, enlightenment. I believe enlightenment comes the moment we realize that we have a choice. The moment we realize we have a choice, then we can make a higher vibratory frequency, energy choice. And that every single day of our lives is new. And so in our way of life, we acknowledge that all paths that lead to God are good. That the revelation of truth comes to us. Universally, it is one mind. That mind is God's mind. That mind is our mind right here and right now as we align with it. Whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever name we put on our higher power, it matters not. But to acknowledge that which is within each and every one of us is greater than that which resides in the world of conditions that show up, that we oftentimes give our power away to, and the effects of life. And when we give our power away to these outer things, the conditions, appearances, and effects, we shrink to even smaller proportions. So when I feel that energy of fear come up, and we know that we're all subject to the human condition, so forgive yourself for that. But use a trigger symbol, that when these things come up, it is a trigger symbol to go within to the secret place of the Most High within each and every one of us. Fear knocked at the door. Faith answered. Behold, no one was there. And when we open the door to love, and we begin to experience that energy of universal agape love, it permeates everything in the energy field. There is a true story about a woman named Maria Paula. She lives right out of California City. And her little daughter was suffering from leukemia. And she was literally dying. And the little daughter had a vision of the Blessed Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. And she told her mother, outside we have that hill and a little mountain. Go to it, and you will see the Blessed Mother, and I know I'll be healed. And so her mother, she said, I didn't even wear shoes. I was going up the mountain. I stepped, I was going to step on this rock, but it was a snake curled up. And then I looked up and I saw the vision of the Blessed Mother, and she said, look unto me. Look unto me. And she said, I looked unto this beautiful, beautiful image of the Blessed Mother Mary. And she said, I knew in my heart that all was well in my world and my daughter would be healed. Now, what I love about this is that there is a mystical element in the universe. And in metaphysics, many times, what's so interesting is we don't give our power away to energies that are part of the influence of the universe. We know that it's all part of it. And when Ernest Holmes, Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, had a very, very dear and best friend. And he believed very much in astrology. And he said, I wanted to meet him for breakfast. And he said, oh no, I read my astrology and I can't go out today because something bad will happen. Well, Ernest was not real happy about that, but went to breakfast alone. And then later discovered that his friend decided to meet him, had a flat tire, and as he got out of his vehicle on the highway, a truck came by and hit him and killed him. And so out of that, Dr. Ernest Holmes' brother, Fenwick Holmes, who wrote the foreword of my book of poetry that I published in the 70s, he said that out of that, it was so disillusioning for Dr. Ernest Holmes that he gave his power away to astrology and then embodied that something bad is going to happen. Of course, in our way of life, We know death is not extinguishing the light, it's turning off the lamp because dawn is coming. When that dawn comes upon each and every one of us, and it does and it will, that we move to the next dimension. And as we move to the next dimension, a portal opens and we walk through this. And when Dr. Ernest Holmes was giving one of his most profound presentations at the Wiltern Theater, interestingly enough, he had a vision of his late wife, Hazel, and he began to weep. I actually have the tape of it. And he said, the veil is very thin. The veil is very thin. And he began talking to her. And he's got this huge audience. So we know the veil is very thin and that we are all supernatural. So Maria Paula shared this with her priest. Now her priest, a very pragmatic man, said, I don't see angels, I don't see beings of light, I don't see Jesus, I don't see the apostles, but I have a faith that is unshakable. Even though I don't see these beings, that faith is within me. But word has traveled, and the 13th of each month to this day, thousands of people gathered. They gathered to that spot where Maria Paula had the experience of the Blessed Mother Mary. And people are healed. And people were interviewed. I saw this interview program where a woman came in a wheelchair. She had lupus. And she said the first time that she went, there wasn't a whole lot that happened for her. But the second time, she said, I got up from my wheelchair. The third time I went, I began walking. This woman was radiant. She was healthy. She was vibrant. And there was one after another of these amazing healings of cancer and leukemia and arthritis, where people were crippled up with arthritis. So they could let the wheelchair go and they could let the walker go, because there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are. And guess what? We can use it, and we are using it every single day of our lives. That's why in our way of life, we don't use the S word. And that S word is sick. We go through cleansings. When I tell my body that I am cleansing, everything unlike the good, the true, and the beautiful that should be flowing through my coursing through my veins, leaves. And that when we are subject to the human condition and we seek out medical help, we know that doctors also are divinely guided. And when Larry Dossey, shared that one of his patients refused chemotherapy, radiation, he had stage 4 cancer, he refused all of it. But he had his minister come in with the ministry of prayer, and they prayed over him. That was his therapy. He said, I let him go home and die because obviously he didn't want any of our therapies, and he was taking up space. I was a first-year medical student. I was very scientific. I was very linear. And he said, this was just not part of my reality. I was an agnostic. I was a good doctor. I was a man of science. But he said, that haunted me, because a year later the man came in with a case of the flu, but there was no cancer detected, and the radiologist said this man is in complete remission. Obviously, the radiation and the chemo worked. And Dr. Dossey said he never had it. He was prayed over. So, and he also shared that 43%, that there was a study, 43% of all doctors pray for their patients. He said, will they come forward and do that? No. They will not admit it. But 43%. And he said, someday there will be prescriptions given. And he had a darling little prescription. And it said, prayer in the morning. Take prayer in the morning and in the evening with beautiful results. And it was on a prescription pad. So as we acknowledge that we are supernatural, that we can transcend these diagnoses, and when we do have a diagnosis, and that medical science is there for us. I'm basically a naturopath, but I'm very grateful for my orthopedic surgeon. He said, I'm a mechanic, so I just went into your lower back. You're now bionic. You have titanium in your lower back now. And I just walked in after 2 weeks, and the attendant said, you're pre-op? I said, no, I'm post-op. She goes, nobody walks in after 2 weeks of major back surgery. You're amazing. And I said, well, it's really interesting. I have been a student of yoga for 40 years, and I am in touch with my higher power. And I also have people praying for me. So when we have this other dimension, and we tap into that other dimension, whether we see the apparition of the Blessed Mother Mary saying, "Look unto me, don't look backward, look unto me. Life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. Life is a forward progression of the soul. Look unto me. Look unto what works. Look unto the solution. Allow yourself to see the solution. And if we're not in the solution, we're in the problem." And there was another young woman that she said she was a nurse, and she had something going on with her eyes, so she just dropped by the pharmacy. She got a little over-the-counter remedy. And when she got home, she put it in her eyes, and it had been tampered with. And she immediately went blind. And she is blind. And she said she had, a lot of angst and feelings of hurt and disappointment and bitterness. And she said, I began to heal when I began to forgive. So one of the basic components to being supernatural is forgiveness. That we cannot give our power away to something outside of us and live in blame. Was it unfortunate? Yes, it was. She said, when I began to forgive, I went to as a nurse, I went to the guide dog school. I am one of the top management at the guide dog school for the blind. And I work with the blind patients. And I have a life's work. And it showed her crossing the street that her little beautiful guide dog, knew, when the red light was and all of this, that the training of these animals is absolutely amazing. And that we work with the animal kingdom, our little four-leggeds, don't we? Because we are all deeply related. And this is why I really do love our way of life, is that when things come up, yes, we have pain and hurt about certain things, but we are resilient. We heal. And so I just can't imagine somebody getting something over the counter and having it blind them. I think it's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. But it's what she did with it. She decided to make a difference. And just as Maria Paula had this experience, now people from all over, thousands of people on the Mojave Desert, right out of California City, gather. Now she has all of these volunteers, they all wear white, very similar to what I'm wearing today. And they pray over each person that comes in with terminal diseases or chronic diseases or whatever. Not everyone gets healed, but a great percentage of people that they interviewed. And they keep coming back on the 13th of each month and opening to a greater sense of who and what they are. So when Mandela walked out of that prison and talked about, had he carried that experience with him, that he would have been so embittered. And I love what he said, you can be embittered or empowered. And I chose to be empowered by my experiences. And when he left that prison, some of the guards wept that he was such a presence in that prison, and that he counseled the guards, and that he was a beneficial presence. So wherever we are on the planet, that we have this invisible power. And, many times, the best means of navigation is a leap of faith. And when we make that leap of faith, we land on higher ground. And I've always said that whenever I've gotten a divine boot, I've always landed on higher ground. And that we open to the truth that sets us free to be who and what we are. And there was a great, wonderful interviews with many Harvard doctors and professors that have been doing research for years. And one of them wrote a book on forgiveness. A Harvard professor wrote this book on forgiveness. And he said he really noticed, and they worked with mothers whose children were murdered. And he said it was really, really heavy. And that when they got through and past the pain and the angst and the incredible shock of how could this have happened to my child, and came out on the other side, then they began serving other mothers out of their experience and became of service and began to be empowered rather than embittered through this experience and cherishing the moments they had with this being that entered their life for maybe a moment, right? Maybe a moment. And, you know, for me, energetically, when my husband passed, my daughter was 7, and she said, "Mama, am I a burden for you?" And I would say, "Oh, you're just the greatest gift and the greatest legacy your father could have ever given me." And so I know the heart of a mother. And to lose a child in that way, to me, is unfathomable. And to then take the energy and say, "I'm going to extend my hand to you, and I'm going to extend my hand to you. I know what it is to feel that loss and that pain, and I extend myself to you." And as we extend ourselves, whether it's the Blessed Virgin Mary in appearance, saying, "Look unto me, don't look behind you, look unto me." And that many of us, as we look unto this higher energy, and our life opens in amazing ways, therein lies the miracle. We are all supernatural, each and every one of us. And let's open to that, and let's realize that this act of grace that allows us to be in the world, but of a higher spiritual vibratory frequency, is the motive force of the universe. And that when we know this, that we can easily move out of the human condition to the truth that sets us free to be who and what we are. Because as long as we are here, we're here to grow, to unfold, and to be all that we can be. Because we're on a journey. And where are we going? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Because we are in a high place and we will not come down. None of these outer things move us. We are in a high place and we will not come down. And so it is. I say namaste. The God in me salutes the God in you, and the God in you salutes the God in me. And if I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. And shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, every single one. It's been a joy to be here this morning, and you know that I just adore Sunday mornings right here at the Rose of Sharon Sanctuary. And I just welcome each and every one of you, knowing that you did not tune in by chance, that we had a divine appointment this morning. And I bless you for keeping yours.